Welcome into college football week 3. We have our first profitable week in Power 4 picks. We both went 3-2 last week. Ethan, you are finally in the green at 6-5. I am just in the red at 5-6. Hoping for a big week in college football. We have 5 pretty solid matchups, all with having one ranked team. We have 3 ranked matchups, so a little bit better than week two's games. But I am feeling a little uneasy about some of these games we're about to talk about. Again, we talk about the top 5 in our minds matchups for the weekend. Obviously, we'll have more bets and more predictions on different games. If you do want those, we'll be live on Saturday talking through the entire college football slate and bets and games that we like and don't like. So make sure you do check us out live. But Ethan, welcome. How are you feeling about week 3 college football?
Yeah, much better slate than week 2. And I think we're only kind of getting better as we advance into conference play. So really looking forward to weeks 4 and 5 upcoming here. But a lot of good matchups, a lot of good games for viewership. Agreed. I'm not super drawn to the games that we're talking about necessarily from a betting aspect. I'm sure I'll get there on a couple. But you mentioned it just barely in the green this year, 6-5, which does reflect my official bets. I'm 5-5 in those. So still managing to stay afloat. I talked about it last week where I was just in a massive hole at this point, college football season, week 3. But my show picks were doing really well. So it's nice to kind of have that balance back out. Not nearly as frustrating when I was losing all my bets last year, winning on the show. So, but yeah, looking to go, 3-2, 4-1, keep going a little bit further up in that green this week and trying to have another nice college football season.
Yeah, let's just get right into the games. We are going to start on chronological order. So at noon on Saturday, we have number 12 Clemson at Georgia Tech. Clemson is a 3-point home or 3-point road favorite. Over under is 52.5. I'm having some trouble with this game. I think I know where you're going to go. I think I'm going to disagree, unfortunately, but I'll send it to you first. Clemson, Georgia Tech. Who do you got?
All righty. I'm curious to see what your side is here. I'm going to go Clemson minus the 3 points on the road. And I just think people are ready to jump off of Clemson. They didn't look good at all against LSU in that loss in week 1. Then they struggled to beat Troy. They were down large at halftime. I think I was 16-3 at half, come back to win 27-16. So completely shut them out in the second half of that game. That's a big sign to me. They made the adjustments needed. They really, I think, got that fire under their ass and came out, played really good second half ball, ended up winning by 11 from down 13 at halftime. Now they go to Georgia Tech, first road game of the season. I think it's a spot where they're probably going to get up here, laying only 3 when they came into the season as a heavy favorite to make the playoff, a team that people thought would have a good run at the national title, brought back, I think, more returning players than anyone in the country. And they just have not started their first 2 games looking like the juggernaut that people thought they'd be. I think it kind of turns around here. Georgia Tech, yeah, they've looked good so far, but they've played Colorado, a team that you and I are both kind of down on, 27-20. It's not like they blew them out of the water. Gardner-Webb, 59-12. That's what they were expected to do. They were a massive favorite in that game. They did cover the spread. I did actually lean Gardner-Webb last week. Just thought it was too many points. But, yeah, I think now Clemson laying a short number, I think it's kind of a gift here. Haynes King also banged up during the week. He has missed some practice. He will be playing, but you never want your starting quarterback missing practice in the week prior to a big game like this. So I'll take Clemson minus the 3. I think it's a short price or short number.
Yeah. If this was anyone other than Georgia Tech, I'd be all over Clemson. I just freaking love Georgia Tech on the season. Don't like them in this game, but I am going to back Georgia Tech. I just think they're winners, man. Haynes King is my guy. I think I'm in love with him because of how much money he made me last year. I mean, this guy has been so good to me in bets. It's such a bad spot for Georgia Tech. This line, I believe, opened at 9, maybe back like in June, July. So it is a terrible, terrible time to back Georgia Tech down 6 points from open to a 3-point dog. Again, we might have missed the window on Georgia Tech. I understand Clemson lost week 1, looked terrible week 2 against a very bad team. Well, not bad team. Troy's actually decent, but they're not fantastic. But I got to go with my Georgia Tech boys. I mean, they're just winners. They're competitors. I think they really get up for this game. I am nervous about Haynes King. That guy's always beat up, especially they run him like he's Derrick Henry, and he's not. But if this was any other school in the country not named Georgia Tech, I'd be pouncing all over Clemson. I'm just high on Georgia Tech. I think they're going to get some upsets. In their season. They battled with Georgia last year. I think that game went to multiple overtimes. That was the game I won a lot of money on Haynes King. I just think they're competitors. They remind me a little bit of Vandy. I mean, same kind of quarterback philosophy, and these guys are just not the greatest athletes, but they love to freaking win. They have a lot of heart. They have a lot of grit. They give it their all every single play. I love Georgia Tech again on the season. I think it's a bad spot. Potentially, it could be a teaser game. Like I said, you may have missed the window on Georgia Tech from this line dropping 6 points from Clemson's 2 poor weeks from open. You might have missed a window on Georgia Tech, so possibly tease that up to 9.5, 10.5 if you want to take a 7.5 point teaser. It's not the right play. I do think Clemson's ultimately the right side, but I gotta back my boys. I've just been high on them all year and all preseason and even last year. So I'm just going to continue to back my sweet little boys in Georgia Tech, but it's probably the wrong side. I admit that, but I got to give them faith at least one of these weeks to beat a really good opponent and get a really good quality win as an underdog. And I think they're going to do that a couple of times this year. And what a great time to start this week against Clemson. So I'm on Georgia Tech, unfortunately. Again, don't love it. It's probably the wrong side. Could potentially tease it up, like I said, to try to get that better price because I do think you have lost a lot of value if you do want Georgia Tech in this game. Let's move on to a ranked matchup, an SEC matchup. This is at 3:30 Eastern time on Saturday. We have number 6 Georgia at number 15 Tennessee. Georgia is now a 3 to a 3.5 point favorite on the road. Over under is 49.5. Georgia opened this game, I believe, at 7.5 point favorite. And I'm actually going to take Georgia in this game. I think this is a similar situation as Clemson. You're getting a really good discount on Georgia. Not the greatest 2 weeks for them. Last week, they, I think, won like a typical Georgia score, like 29-3 or 29-7 or something like that. Just it's what Georgia always does. They're very similar to Michigan. They really struggle blowing teams out. It's not their philosophy. They're a run-heavy team. Their defense is stellar. And I'm just still not sold on Tennessee. I know they have a pretty good win against Syracuse in week 1 where I bet against them. I understand Tennessee is a hop-in place. It's really hard to win at Tennessee. But unfortunately, I'm going to ride with Georgia. I think the price is too good. The discount, I'm going to fall for it. So, yeah, give me the Bulldogs to win and cover in this game. How about you?
Yep, I'm right there with you on this one. We will agree. Georgia minus 3.5 is my side. Also kind of like the under, but I will give out the side as the official play for the show. But yeah, I think Georgia did what they had to do to get the win. 28-6 was the final last week against Austin Peay. Marshall took care of them week 1, 45-7. I think they were focusing on Tennessee last week. They didn't have to put any focus hardly at all into Austin Peay. They know they were going to welcome them into their stadium and go get a pretty easy dub. Meanwhile, I thought Tennessee would kind of do the same thing. They blow out ETSU 72-17. I leaned ETSU last week. I know on our Saturday Live I was talking about them. Thank God I didn't play it. But yeah, I think people are going to look at that lopsided score and just think, Tennessee is back. They're going to remember last year Tennessee having a lot of good games. Maybe not even realizing that Nico is no longer their quarterback here. But ultimately, I'm a little bit down on Tennessee. I just don't think they're going to have quite that good of a season once they get into their tougher competition. Still pretty high on Georgia. I mean, it's hard not to be. And then I think people, too, will just quick look at the schedule. Oh, Alabama on deck here. Big look ahead for Georgia. Well, that's in 2 weeks. They have a bye week next week. So I don't think they're prepping at all for Georgia. I think they're taking this game very seriously in Tennessee. I think Georgia minus 3.5 is a pretty short price. And I think, if we were playing this game week 10, it's probably Georgia 7.5. I think that's how different these teams are going to be once the season kind of progresses.
Yep. I agree completely. So glad we agreed on that game. Moving forward, probably one of the more confusing games, one of the more interesting games, and it somehow is one of my favorite games on the entire slate. And I hate saying that because I hate this team. But we have number 18 USF. They're traveling to number 5 Miami. Miami is a 17.5 point favorite, over under 57.5. Obviously, the big storyline this year in college football is USF. They have 2 consecutive ranked wins. They beat Boise State, who we were both on USF in that game. And then they outright beat Florida as an 18-point dog. Same exact line pretty much as this game. They beat Florida at Florida. Fantastic win for USF. Got them up to number 18 in the rankings. And Miami is a team that I just absolutely despise. I want to keep fading Miami, but I think this is going to continue Miami's stretch of it's going to look great right now on their record beating USF. But at the end of the year, it's going to be like, meh, USF finish, 7-5 or whatever they finish. People will forget about USF's big win over Florida. We're down on Florida anyways. That one doesn't look that good. They're not even in the rankings anymore. Boise State's never going to even come close to touching the rankings again this year. So you look back at USF's wins, and again, great at the moment, but we're going to look back and say those are very mediocre wins. So I'm unfortunately going to lay it with probably the team I hate most in Miami. They're at 17.5 right now. I actually like them at 16.5. I'd buy that extra point. Again, I don't love teasing games down or teasing games up, but it's just such a big number. 17 is such a big football number, and I'm going to take the 16.5. But for the show, I'll give 17.5. I think Miami rolls, and again, it's going to look like a really good win for Miami as of right now. But just like USF, this is going to be a very win at the end of the year. And yeah, unfortunately, that's where I'm going to lay it. This line opened at 18.5. So even with USF's two big wins, the line's only dropped a point. Maybe that's something in the play that Vegas is just like, yeah, whatever, good wins, but we're not going to move the line drastically like we saw in Georgia and Clemson. So I'm going to take a shot at Miami. Again, my advice, I would take them at the 16.5 as opposed to 17.5. Again, probably a game I shouldn't bet because USF just keeps doing it. I mean, you could just continue to ride the hype. And I don't blame you if you want to do that, but I got to back Miami. I think it's a sharp play. Also, potential hangover spot for USF after a huge win. Last second field goal to beat Florida at the Swamp. Fantastic win at the time. Really emotional win. Miami does have Florida on deck, but this game I think no longer turned into a look ahead spot because it is ranked USF, because USF just beat Florida. So I think a lot more focus turned to this game for Miami than it would have if, for example, USF lost or something. It could potentially be a look ahead spot. I think we could throw that out the window. I think all focus is for Miami to beat USF this week. So give me Miami on the spread.
Yeah, you took a lot of what I was going to say, so I'll try to steer clear of just repeating exactly what you said, but I am in full agreement with Miami minus the 17.5. I think they end up rolling in this game. I think maybe first half they could only be up 10, 11 points, and people are starting to think like, oh, could South Florida do it again? And I think come the second half, they really start to pull away in this game. And yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Boise State and Florida, by the end of the season, probably not going to look like great wins. I think South Florida put a ton of effort into Florida last week. I think Florida is the team. You obviously have Florida, Florida State, Miami, some really good schools in the state of Florida, but I think Florida is the number one, the one that if you could pick any of the teams to beat, you want to go beat Florida. So they got that done. This could be a bit of a letdown spot for South Florida. And also we mentioned with that South Florida game last week, I was worried about Florida because they have LSU this week, Miami, and then Texas. Those were three teams at the time ranked in the top, I believe, 5 or right outside the top 5. They're ranked in the top 7 now. And then Texas A&M after that. So just a really tough schedule for Florida. You have to imagine they were putting some work ahead to LSU. We'll get into that game here in a little bit. But, it wasn't completely shocking for me to see South Florida go and beat Florida. I've also been kind of anti-Billy Napier, saying that I thought he could be the first coach fired, and that's looking like that might end up being a decent bet at this point. But yeah, I think Miami, I am worried that they have Florida on deck and Florida State after that, just because, they're in the same boat. They want to beat Florida. They don't really give a damn about South Florida. Now they do because they have the 18 next to their name. But yeah, ultimately, I think now that South Florida is ranked, they are going to give effort to them that they weren't going to give prior. I still think they're going to be looking ahead a little bit to Florida. But I think the talent is it's going to run out here for South Florida. I think Miami just kind of dog walks them, honestly. So yeah, I think minus 17.5. The line's obviously telling. South Florida is going to be public. I mean, everyone loves their little Cinderella team. So of course they're going to jump on South Florida to start 3-0 against 3 ranked teams. I highly doubt that happens. I think Miami rolls.
Yeah, I love it. A team we just talked about for both these teams. USF, we said just beat Miami or just beat Florida. Miami has Florida on deck. Let's talk about the Florida game. Florida is at number 3 LSU. LSU is a 7.5 point favorite over under 47.5. I think we're going to be in agreement, unfortunately, on this game, but I'll send it to you first.
All right, just talked about Florida here. I lean Florida plus the 7.5. I'm not sure if I'll be able to bet this game because I'm just not really bought into Florida. But like I just mentioned, I think they spent last week's prep getting ready for LSU. It's a massive game here in LSU. And yeah, obviously off the upset loss, this kind of becomes a must-win game for Billy Napier, for Florida in general. Very hard schedule, as I just mentioned, coming up. And yeah, I mean, if they go out, get blown out by LSU, it's bye-bye Billy. I could almost guarantee you that if they fail to cover this spread. And Florida's season is just going to be kind of another one that goes down in shambles, I think. So I kind of do like the 7.5. I know this game, I believe, opened 9.5, has been bet down to the 7.5. Honestly, I think if you can get over a touchdown, that's okay. But LSU, I did bet Louisiana Tech last week. They covered with ease. I do think LSU was looking ahead a little bit to Florida. Ultimately, I do think LSU is just the superior team here. They're at home, night game, so it does worry me a little bit looking to back Florida because again, I don't know if I fully believe in them. But I think that's the only way I could go if I'm betting this game. There's no chance I could lay the points with LSU.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm right there with you. Give me Florida on the spread. I mean, it goes against everything, or it goes with everything we agree on. Terrible loss for Florida. The line movement is affecting that loss, giving you a discount on Florida, or sorry, discount on LSU. No, discount on Florida. Um, I can't back LSU in this game. I agree with you. I think LSU is a superior team. I think Florida looks terrible. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Florida. I completely agree with your take that Napier might be the first coach fired. I mean, he's probably going to be gone at the end of this year with the gauntlet that they have. But I have to back the team that looked like absolute crap against a number 3 team in the country. I have to do it. And I know Florida lost that rankings, but if you guys have seen this week in the news, the AP poll is an absolute joke. They have women on there who have no idea what they're talking about. And again, I'm not making any fun of women, but this girl has no idea what she's talking about. She's laughing about her picks. She is just saying there's so many voters that my pick doesn't really matter. Then what are you doing? The AP poll is a joke. So don't get flustered by the rankings. Don't get over flustered that Florida's no longer ranked. They're still a pretty solid team. They still have DJ Lagway. And I know LSU is number 3 with a huge win against Clemson. Yeah, I'm going to take a shot on Florida at the plus 7.5. It's probably one of the sharper bets out there. It's a really hard game for me to bet just because I agree. I think Florida is going to continue to downfall. This could be a sinking ship pretty quick. It might already be at the bottom of the ocean, to be honest. But I got to take a shot on Florida getting it figured out against a very tough LSU game. Again, I agree. I think they put in a lot of effort last week for LSU. Kind of overlooked USF. It kicked them in the butt. But I think they come out angry. I think they come out with their hair on fire. So unfortunately, I got to back Florida as well at the plus 7.5 against LSU. And then this brings our last game of the day. This is number 16 A&M at number 8 Notre Dame. I got to bet this game. I'll keep it real short. Got to bet this game for 2 reasons. One reason, Notre Dame losing week one. Bye week last week. Have 2 weeks of prep. They're pissed off, and they have A&M at home. I mean, say less. I mean, you're getting a discount on Notre Dame. This was at 9.5 at one point. After the loss and A&M's performances, it's dropped down to 6.5. A huge discount on Notre Dame. 2 weeks of prep. I mean, it's got to be Notre Dame for me. I think Notre Dame wins, maybe by 2 touchdowns. I like the 6.5. Again, it might be a little too obvious at the 6.5, but people can say Notre Dame hasn't won a game this year, so maybe that line's too high. But yeah, give me Notre Dame. I think they win by at least a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if they win by double digits in this game. How about you?
Yeah, I lean Texas A&M in this game. But you know what? I don't like it nearly enough. It's basically a 51% lean A&M, 49% Notre Dame. I'm going to take a stab at the under in this game. We saw this matchup last year. Notre Dame did win it 23-13, really low scoring game. I believe I had A&M and the under, so I ended up pushing and was kicking myself for why didn't I just take the under. I believe it was even more of a lower scoring game than what it even looked like. I think there was a couple late scores there. So I'll lean the under again. I don't see a ton changing. Like you said, Notre Dame had the bye off the loss. A lot of time to prep for Texas A&M and figure them out. But A&M, they haven't played anybody of note yet. UTSA, Utah State, both, decent. They're not some of the cupcakes that other teams have been playing, but no one that is really going to challenge them. They do have Auburn on deck, but that is in 2 weeks. They have a bye next week, so pretty focused on Notre Dame here. Yeah, I just think, when you get two big teams like this going head-to-head with each other, I always look for the defense to step up. Notre Dame, they did fine offensively in week 1 against Miami, put up 24 points, but allowed 27 ultimately in that loss. I think they focus on defense, try to keep this one a little bit lower scoring. They're not a team that's necessarily going to get involved in shootouts with teams. And A&M's been, more lower scoring defensive anyway. I know they've put up 42 and 44 in their 2 games this year, but again, not against the greatest opponents. So, yeah, I think we see a defensive battle at Notre Dame on Saturday night. I do lean Texas A&M plus the points, but I'll give out the under for the official play. And I don't know if I'll end up betting this game.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Again, I'm kind of in love with the loss for Notre Dame and then the 2 weeks of prep. It's hard for me to ignore that. So that is definitely the reason I have a strong lean on Notre Dame in this game. A couple other games. I know we only talk about the top 5 matchups, but I always find a way to lose with Michigan. So here's my way I'm going to lose with Michigan this week. Sharon Moore is suspended these next 2 games. Michigan's offense looked like poo-poo last week. I love Michigan's team total on the over. I think they can really try to just put up some points with the interim head coach that just doesn't really care. The dude he's a football guy, big old fat guy with no sleeves, probably chews a shitload of tobacco. I could see Michigan just, rallying behind them and just putting up some points and say, hey, we can do this. Like, we're not as bad as what we look like. So I don't hate Michigan's team total. That's probably going to be the bet I'm going to lose money on this week. Also, don't twist my arm. I'll probably take Michigan spread. I'm seeing heavy money coming in on Northwestern spread. They're plus 27 or plus 28.5 against Oregon. Not to bring in unrelated events, but it kind of seems like maybe a little divine intervention that I'm not going to touch this game. I do think Charlie Kirk's team was Oregon. He's a huge supporter of Oregon, so I'm probably going to stay away from that. Just seems like a divine intervention type of game. But I mean, come on. They just beat OK State 69-3, and they're only projected 4 touchdowns against the worst team in the Big Ten, Northwestern. It seems a little too obvious to take Oregon, but I'm a little superstitious. And again, I don't want to factor anything about that terrible thing into a bet, but I'm ultimately going to stay away from that game. If you really want to get gross, I'm seeing a lot of people on Delaware against UConn, who just took Syracuse to OT, I believe. Delaware, potentially a sharp bet. Kansas State, I see people back on the Kansas State train. I'm going to stay off that team. I think they are the Florida State of this year's college football season. And then I think that's about it of games. Oh, Vandy and South Carolina is going to be a great game. I don't know. I lost money on South Carolina in a very similar situation in week 1. Don't know if I want to do it in week 2. I'm leaning Vandy, but I might just stay away. Is there any other games or those games you wanted to touch on ahead of week 3 college football?
Yeah, not a ton. Obviously, Vandy, South Carolina, the biggest of the bunch, and I will have more of a breakdown on that on Saturday when we do our live. So I'll be sure to bring something for that game. And all I'll really say is UConn's beat last week was so gross that I can't believe I wasn't on them, because that's stuff that only tends to happen when I have action. It's just sick for UConn backers last week. Did you see that game? Did you see how that?
I had them at plus 6.5, so I hit the bet. I didn't watch it at all.
They didn't hit the 6.5.
Okay, maybe I had them at plus 7. I won something on UConn. I forget what it was. 7.5 maybe.
They closed 6.5. They were winning by, I think, double digits late in the 4th. Ended up going down by a field goal with like a minute left, marched the field, kicked the field goal to go to overtime, and then lose by a touchdown in overtime. Got hooked.
Jeez.
So, yeah, it was probably the grossest beat of the college football season. And again, it's just, I can't believe I didn't have money on them because that just seems right up my alley of things that would happen. So thankful I didn't have UConn.
Yeah, I had UConn plus 7.5. So I had the book.
Nice.
But
There
it
you
doesn't
go.
really matter because it was in a parlay, parlayed with Michigan plus 10.5. Michigan lost by 11. So
Mm,
doesn't really matter. Still lost money on it. But the UConn leg was not my loser. Thank God I took it at 7.5.
yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I said, we will have our live on Saturday talking through the entire college football slate. We're going to skip some games that aren't great, but we will go through time slot by time slot, giving our best predictions for the best games during those times. So make sure you do hop on our live at YouTube at Better and Green, and please give us a like, a comment, and a share, and a subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us continue to do this, and hopefully we can get some more positive records for you guys and help you guys make some more money. Again, Ethan's in the green. I'm still barely in the red. But we're trying to see the board a little more clearly. We do have conference football starting on Friday. Majority of the teams will be playing conference opponents, which hopefully we can get a little better read. It's really hard to handicap these out-of-conference games, and especially hard to handicap these games against teams that are terrible. So hopefully we'll get some better predictions, and our records will show in the upcoming weeks for college football. But we appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and good luck this weekend. We'll see you on Saturday. Later, guys.
See you guys.
Welcome to Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? Listening and cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top, hey. Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better and Green.